Welcome back to the program. Now, the recent pro-Biafra agitations resulting in the death of some individuals and the shutdown of banks, shops, schools, transportation, and other socio-economic activities at Onitsha, the gateway city of Anambra State, has opened up once again the heated conversation about the state of the country's economy, and in particular, the Southeast. Nigeria's southeastern region, rich in agriculture and agro-allied products with solid minerals, as well as booming transportation and commerce, including cottage industries and SMEs, showcases towns and cities, all home to thriving industries and commerce, but whose growth and progress has largely been stunted over the last decades. Now let's get the conversation. More than 40 years after the Civil War ended, thousands of protesters in the Southeast spent most of last week agitating for a breakaway, or what you call a self-determination. This is a worrying development, considering the average age of those involved in the recent protests, as you can see on your TV screen. Some reports say they are largely the generation born during and after the 1967 to 1970 Civil War. The social disorder of the past few weeks perhaps has its roots in the obvious lack of economic inclusion in Nigeria from the north to the east, west, and the south. In Nigeria's recent history, hundreds of youths in the oil-rich South Niger Delta went into the creeks, destroying vital national oil assets, taking hostages, demanding for a cleaner environment and a better, improved government socio-economic attention and action. Right now, as we speak, in the northeast, some of the youths have taken to deadly insurgency, bombings, rape, kidnapping, arson, and other atrocities. And now the protesters in the southeast are on the streets seeking some form of self-determination, agitating for a better Nigeria, to realize their own dreams and help nurture those of their own children. Boniface Chizia, a policy analyst and economist, is joining us live here in the studio to discuss the future and the state of Nigeria's southeastern. Good morning, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate coming on the program.
Yes.
A very interesting development. That is where you come from, so there's no better person who was born and raised and lived some of your life in that region. No other better person to discuss this with us. Now, we know what the state of the southeastern is, but the first question is, what exactly do the protesters, what do they want, when, and why?
Well, I think it's in order that I should put across some correction. I'm from Asaba.
You said so yesterday.
Yeah, I said so because some people watching this and say this man is going to speak for Southeast, and he's not exactly from the Southeast. So, but I think that I am knowledgeable enough about what goes on in the Southeast, so that I should be able to talk to it, speak to it on this platform.
From age and
experience too, yes. I think that the thing that is worrisome in the sense that the issue of muscle and so on, and it's been there for quite some time. But then what tends to bother someone is that what has heightened this agitation at this point in time. I think that's the issue we should begin to interrogate. And then if you now look at it, like we did say earlier, I mean, we have deterioration in the economic situation. But this deterioration just didn't happen. It's been there for quite some time. So I think that we should, come clean and be honest with ourselves and begin to say that we have to. For instance, let me say, if for instance you had an Igbo man as the president of Nigeria today, would you have this crisis going on? I don't think so. And so what that says to you is that those who are at the helm of affairs today would now begin to look inwards and say, look, are there issues, are there policies, are there things that we've done that we've not shown some balance, and so on. Because I think that's the issue. Nigeria is a complex society, for want of, repeating and having it repeated. And so there's a need for us, if we are in positions of authority, positions of leadership, to consciously begin to show some balance, in the way we do things. Now, when you don't show balance, then the issue of people feeling not included, being excluded, it now comes to the fore, and that's exactly what you are saying.
We'll get to the issue of inclusion and what we've been able to achieve or not achieve. But let's go to the history of the southeastern Nigeria. This is a region rich in agriculture, rich in solid minerals. There's very
Rich in coal.
Rich in coal.
Enugu coal mine.
Yes. 9th Mile. Wow.
Yes.
With the rail track still
Yeah.
still there, and the coal pit still there, and talks is still going on whether Dangote Group says they're likely going there to look for coal and what. So,
But also, no, I think it's also rich in cottage industries.
yes.
You go to Aba, rich in commerce. You go to Onitsha market. It's the largest market in the whole of West Africa.
Entrepreneurship in Nnewi and all that.
And then adaptive technology activities, and there's no motor spare part and things like that they cannot fabricate.
They fabricate aluminum products.
Yes, everything.
Household utensils like frying pan and kettles. And I had the opportunity of staying for a year, close to 2 years in that region.
Yes.
And what I saw in the late 90s, going through those towns, and you'll be so amazed at the level of industrial consciousness that the southeastern Nigerians are known for decades.
Yes.
Now,
But also you remember trade. There is no part of this country you will not find an Igbo man trading. There is no part of this country. Be it Kara, Namoda, no part of this country, you will find them, they are there. So the issue of trade, commerce, buying and selling, and making good out of it, it's like a hallmark of the average.
This is a region that had some level of what you can call big industries at some point. Some breweries, for example, Golden Guinea Breweries was there. Onuma here,
Yes.
which was listed on the stock exchange way back then. We had another brewery in Onitsha, which was there at some point.
I also hear that Governor P2B has a brewery. Well, I don't quote me on that, but I'm saying on television. But that he also has a brewery in Onitsha.
Wow, fantastic. So, what are those factories and businesses?
Well, I would expect that it's like most factories and businesses across this federation. I think that people have come on hard times because you find the way these things have been configured, the way they've gone about the operations, to some extent they are dependent on importation. And so to the extent that, this country is challenged, with sourcing foreign exchange, to bring in goods and services where they are needed. And so to that extent, you find that businesses are also being affected. I think Nigerian Breweries also has a big presence in Enugu. So like car assembly and so on and so forth. Like you did observe, the Southeast is a treasure trove of industries.
When you last week watched the news and television and you saw those youths brandishing banners and some form of flag and cudgels and what have you, things went out of hand. They were burning vehicles, truckloads of rice and whatever commodities in and out. That is the gateway to the heartland of southeast Nigeria. Looking at the age of those youngsters, what does it bring to your mind?
Also, I think that's when that was happening, I did say to myself, that is the only, if you like, gateway to the southeast from, if you like, from the west. Okay, except you're going to the north, then you go to Benue and so on and so forth. And we've been talking about the second Niger Bridge. Well, it's a good thing that has been kick-started, the immediate past administration. So it's put it in place, and then there's going to be some PPP funding, and then the sovereign wealth fund is also involved in this. And so we need to have something else, have another gateway, so that, again, we talk about sections of this country not feeling that, well, their interest has been taken at heart, as we begin to develop. I think this is also very important. But coming back to what you said, when I saw those, I was frightened. I was fighting because
you saw those youths on television.
Yes, because then they could have gone out of hands. Supposing, I give kudos, to the regulatory authorities, the policemen, the security agencies that were there. They did a marvelous job because it's a gunpowder, just a little sparkle, and then it goes out of hand. Now, suppose there was some rioting and so on, and then somebody was shot there, and I'll tell you, the whole of the Onitsha could have been in conflagration, that it could have exploded. Okay, so I think that is something that we need to find a way to manage. I think that the leaders and elders in the southeast, I think that they better find a way to begin to get these guys, talk to them, and then tell them to be a bit patient. There's no section of this country that is singularly and uniquely, marginalized. I think it's something that is a national issue, and whatever issues they have, they should try. You see, the thing is this. When you talk about this agitation for Biafra, that's a lady sent something in social media, and who shows that really, by the time you begin to separate and begin to balkanize, and then you find that you begin to see also fault lines will begin to appear. So you think you have the big Nigerian economy, and you think you have issues, you feel that you're not getting what you will get. Now, by the time you also if you now, supposing it happens, you now go and you have the former world Biafra, now breaks away and so on and so forth. When you go in there, also you begin to have cleavages, you have divisions, you have issues of sharing, and people come with their scarcity mentality. Nobody wants to think about win-win, and so so there are issues. So what I say to us is that let's look ahead. So we have issues in Nigeria, but there are also advantages in staying, having a big...
Let me ask this, let me cut in there very quickly and respectfully. Look at those very young individuals, 10, 20, 30, 40. Those were individuals born, some of them perhaps during and after the Civil War. So these were folks who didn't see the war, they didn't see all the trouble and everything that went in before, during, and after. Now they've seen their parents who were there during the war. So they're worried about their own dreams, their own future. So where does this all go down? If we drill down, like drilling for oil, the discontent, where is it coming from? We talk about lack of inclusion, because sitting down at home, looking at even things that are simple as apprenticeship in the Southeast. And very nicely, one of today's newspapers, one of the national dailies, have a write-up, coincidentally, titled Igbo and Culture of Apprenticeship, half-page story, in today's Punch newspaper. You need to read that on page 25. Very interesting. This was a culture of a scheme, entrepreneurial scheme. It is indigenous to southeastern Nigeria. What has happened?
Well, I think that it's difficult to know what has happened. I think that I think it's still there, but maybe it's not as trendy as it used to be. I think that in the past, like you rightly observed, I mean, when somebody grew up and then you had a cousin, a relation that was in big business somewhere, and he needed somebody in the shop to assist, a hand in the shop to assist, and then he asks you to come over, and then he feels that this is my kit and kin, and then he's going to come and assist me, and then train and drive this thing, and then he has a mentality. He's also thinking about your future. He's not just thinking about turning you into. He's not running a slave shop, as it were. So you come, and then he exposes you, he trains you.
Financial literacy, business entrepreneurship, and things like that.
And as it goes on, he gets confidence in you, he gives you greater responsibilities and so on, he exposes you, and then, and by the time you finish, he sets you free, as it were, with some good handshake,
With some nice capital. Then you become an entrepreneur.
Yes,
then you pass it on to the next person.
Yes, and then you go, and inevitably, some of the people you dealt with, who have gained some trust in you as a person, would move with you. It's not sort of business you do where you say, look, we are doing accountancy and feasibility studies here. You don't go and set that, so we're going to release. No. So the guy goes, and then he goes into his own, and he's doing that.
Mr. Chase, we're going to cut this conversation quickly. Take a break. When we come back, we've got something very important to talk about, which is we're taking the present to the future. We'll talk about the future of the Southeast. Let's come back after the break. You're watching Business Morning.